Hello. On a Black Friday, one that wants to order different items online would require normally the goy to work for him on Shabbat, since you're ordering it on Friday and the delivery date normally is right afterwards. Sometimes on Shabbat, sometimes you'll get it on Sunday, sometimes on Monday, where it's very likely that the goy prepared the package on Shabbat, and even could be that he put it by the mail, and very likely that also the driver came to bring it to our house on Shabbat. Is that permitted? The Shulchan Aruch writes in Siman Resh Mem Zayin that if two conditions are met, it is permitted. One is that you paid him for his work, and secondly, you didn't ask him to do it on Shabbat. Over here, you paid him for the job, you paid him for the item, you purchased the item, he doesn't do it as a favor, and therefore he does it for himself, not for us. He has an interest over here of working, he's working for his money. He's not doing us a favor, he's not doing it for us. Secondly, you didn't ask him to do it on Shabbat, he does it by himself on Shabbat. Such a thing would be permitted, especially since he could do it after Shabbat or before Shabbat. You didn't ask him to do it on Shabbat, he could have worked on it on a Sunday. Why did he do it on Shabbat? He did it by his own, because that's more comfortable for him. It saves him time. He wants to have Sunday off or whatever. He wants to get the packages ready as quick as possible. Therefore, such a thing would be permitted. But what about a different scenario, that you have an option of deciding when is the delivery date, and you want it, for instance, on a Sunday or on a Monday, and you know he's going to be working on Shabbat, because it's not possible for the package to be prepared and delivered to our house on a Sunday or a Monday unless they actually work the package on Shabbat. You just bought it now on a Friday, and therefore they had to work on it on Shabbat, and the truck had to be driving it. It comes from a different town, different city, so therefore it had to be dealt with on Shabbat. Is that permitted? The Magen Avraham says that whenever you request from the goy to do something for you ready for after Shabbat, where you know it's going to be ready, it's going to be working on it on Shabbat, it's not permitted, because it's considered as you actually told him to work on it on Shabbat, and accordingly this is something that must be avoided, and therefore you shouldn't do a delivery date that you know is gonna be worked on Shabbat. Therefore, if the delivery date you decided is on a Sunday and you bought it on a Friday, it's a little bit it's pretty obvious that he's going to be working with the package on Shabbat, doing things for you or with the package. There are some leniencies if a person is really in a need for whatever he's buying. For example, it's diapers, you need to have the diapers, you can't just go and buy from the store, they don't have that size or whatever, it's a baby formula that they don't have in the stores or whatever, you have a need for it. There are poskim that permit it, especially Sfaradi poskim, like for instance the Minchat Kohen, the Radbaz brings such a thing down, and Chacham Ovadia mentions it also in Chazon Ovadia, Chelek Aleph. He brings also the Matei Yehuda and the Zera Emet also bring such opinions, which claim that this Magen Avraham is not the opinion of the Shulchan Aruch, because the Shulchan Aruch said that as long as you didn't request from him and tell him to work on Shabbat, it's permitted, even though you had no choice but working on Shabbat. Magen Avraham understood that if you requested from him the package to be ready on Motzei Shabbat, or whatever you gave him to work with on Motzei Shabbat or Sunday, so it's like you spoke to him and you told him to have it ready for you on Shabbat. But those poskim that argue on him say that it's not written so in the Bet Yosef, in the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch just said you can't mention openly that he should work for you on Shabbat, and therefore one could use these leniencies if one really needs to. Also, there's a machloket that the Mishnah Berurah brings down in Shin Vav, a machloket, the Chavot Yair and the Avodat HaGershoni. If you don't request from the person himself, the goy himself, to work for you on Shabbat, rather you request from him to ask another goy to work. It's called Amira LaAmira, which means you ask a goy to ask another goy to do something for you on Shabbat. Is that permitted or asur? According to Chavot Yair, that permits it. Over here as well, when you order a package, the person himself that you ordered from is not working the package. He just the boss, he has employees, and therefore he asked them to do the job, and therefore afterwards the truck takes it. So you didn't actually dealt with the person doing the work. Such a thing would be permitted. Mishnah Berurah just says that you can't benefit from it on Shabbat, which means the package shouldn't come to you on Shabbat. You didn't request the delivery date on Shabbat. You requested it for after Shabbat, and therefore such a thing would also be permitted if you have a great need for it. If you need the package on Shabbat, so then it becomes a little bit more problematic. But if it's something that's extremely important, as we said, it's a person that needs medicine, for example, very important, so then there are leniencies to receive it on Shabbat as well, especially that if you didn't ask for the package to come on Shabbat and it was delivered on Shabbat, there are those that permits you to open the package and benefit from whatever's there on Shabbat, if it's not muktzeh, of course. Let's say you ordered food, for example, kosher food, you got snacks with a hechsher on the package, and it comes to you on Shabbat. Can you open the package? The truck just delivered it on Shabbat. He came from outside the Tchum, and he drove and he delivered something from Reshut Harabim. He puts it into your place, which is Reshut Hayachit. It's such a thing should be avoided. Says the Shmirat Shabbat Ki'ilchata that one is permitted to open the package and use it. The reason is that the fact that it was outside the Tchum, it's not considered muktzeh because people could have used it over there. The fact that it came over here to our Tchum, to our place, to our city, he didn't do it for us, he did it for himself, and he has other deliveries as well, so therefore he didn't come special for us. And also, as we explained before, that whenever he gets paid for his job, so therefore he is doing it for himself and not for us. And once we have the package and it's not muktzeh and it came to our house and we're not doing anything that's a violation of Shabbat with it, then one is allowed to benefit from that package or whatever's inside on Shabbat as well. This is a psak of the Shmirat Shabbat Ki'ilchata from Rav Shlomo Zalman Ob.